everybody. Welcome to NorCal Sports Network. And this is the same hat that Brock Purdy's dad wears. Chat loves it when Marty Lurie comes on.
Anytime you lose a game this time of year, when you can't go backwards, it's a problem.
All right. Happy Monday morning to everybody. Welcome on in. As breaking news, as you saw, it's been out for just about an hour or so. Bob Melvin of the San Francisco Giants was fired this morning by Buster Posey and is no longer the manager of the San Francisco Giants. Been saying it should happen for quite a while, a couple months now. As said last night, I said he's gone this morning. I said last night it would happen today, and I felt pretty strongly that it would happen. So there you have it. We'll get into it a little bit more, but first let us thank our sponsor of the show, Chapman Law Group. Chapman Law Group, located in Marin, licensed in all of California. Give Chapman Law Group a call at 415-613-9483 for all your legal needs. Let them know NorCal Sports Network sent you. All right, everybody. This is, not unexpected news, but it is big news. The Giants fire Bob Melvin, and we'll see where this thing actually goes as far as the hiring process. I think there could be a few people in line, guys like Nick Hundley, Skip Schumacher, maybe Yadier Molina. That would be my choice. Bruce Bochy is being thrown out there. I could see Buster doing that, kind of a short gap, a stopgap measure, kind of like Dusty Baker in Houston. Not sure that'll be how this goes down. Hutch says Bochy, Will Clark, Bonds. I could see Bochy in there. Will Clark and Bonds. I don't see Hutch, to be honest with you. I don't see them as managerial type guys that would want to do the job, but you never know. Kevin Cash of Tampa Bay, Babe Rock says, yeah, that's isn't Cash, is he still, I haven't heard much today on some of the news, to be honest with you guys. I've got work going on. In fact, I've got an 11 o'clock appointment coming up here. I do have a day job. So this is kind of a quick, obviously impromptu notice, but Marcus says, you guys beefed me from Bob Melvin's firing a few days ago. Not sure, Marcus. I don't recall that. Maybe, there's so much in the chat and we do so many shows. Maybe I don't remember commenting on that myself. But if you called it, you got it. You got it. It was, I didn't think it was that, you said that. Okay. Yeah, I remember, but you said it was confirmed and, there was nothing confirmed about it. So I don't like to put out news that is, no sources. If I had a source that you had, given us in writing that we could all see, that would have been different. I would have put that source up, but I didn't have a source from you so that was my thing. I don't want to spread false news with somebody's job. Look, I'm not gloating today over Bob Melvin's firing. The man is a good man. He lost his job. Do I feel sorry for him? No, he's going to get paid. I don't relish in people losing their jobs, so to speak. But this is professional sports, and it was called for. It was called for because, excuse me, I need a little water. it just was a lack of performance. Now, there's a couple schools of thought on this, guys. I'd love to get your thoughts on this in the chat. He didn't perform well after the Rafi Devers trade. They were kind of in a skid before, and then they got they were doing well right before they got Devers, but at one point the Giants were skidding, and they Posey gave him a vote of confidence by exercising the option. I can't even remember the timeline this year, if that was after they got Devers, but they started skidding before the All-Star break, and really bad timing. And then they trade their back into the bullpen in Duvall and Rogers. They move off of Yaz. And so Melvin's kind of left with a bare bullpen in a way, not a very good bullpen at all. Didn't have much in the help of starting pitching. And then, the fade at the end of the season when it mattered most after playing great baseball for a couple of weeks. So you could kind of look at this and say a lot of this had to do with Buster's inexperience as well, in the fact that he took the best part of his bullpen away from him and expected him to do miracles. But at the same time, I'm in favor of it. Yeah, Spencer, they were 41-29. Yeah, they were tied for first place on Friday night. On a Friday night after the Casey Schmidt Grand Slam beat the Dodgers and Yamamoto, the Giants were tied. Then on Sunday, on Father's Day, they traded for Devers and then, collapsed. So that's probably what sealed their fate more right there. And then, I think this move gives a good signal that losing will not be tolerated. And this was my point on NorCal Sports Network for quite a while, is if Posey does not fire him, then he's tolerating losing. And I don't think that's what Buster is going to do or would do. So this did not catch me by surprise. I fully expected that this was something that was going to happen. So, yeah. So excuse me for 1 second. I'm going to cough here and mute my mic. Okay. Sorry about that. So I think you just have to look at this and see that this is a good move for the Giants. And Babe Rocks says time to trade Chapman and Ramos. This tells me that there may be some more moves coming that might be controversial. I think the Giants will try to make some trades here this offseason. And if they move away from a Matt Chapman, if they could, I think with Melvin gone right now and him being pretty tight with Chapman, hey, look, let's look at this. I think it's the one reason Chapman came to the Giants was because Bob Melvin was the manager, and Melvin pushed for the signing of Matt Chapman last year. If you recall, it was spring training, and Chapman was not signed by anybody. And he was a late signing. Spring training games were already going on, and they signed Chapman last year. Trade Chapman and go get Bo Bichette. I agree. I would love that move. I think that, look, Giants have a third baseman in Casey Schmidt, who, in my opinion, will give you as decent of production Offensively, he might not hit as many home runs, but I think he'll be more productive with runners in scoring position. Casey would probably hit you 20 homers, where Chapman's going to get you more like 25. Casey's probably going to give you about the equal production offensively. He'll probably hit for a higher batting average. Third base, we all know Chapman's is an all-time great. And then what you have is a much cheaper version at third base, Casey Schmidt making major league minimum, and then Chapman making $25 million. So now that frees up a lot more money to go get things. And Chapman's old. And somebody says here, nobody's eating Chapman's contract voluntarily. Absolutely, Reno. I've talked about that. You're going to eat the back end of the contract in a few years. The last 3 years of the contract, you're going to pay Chapman $75 million, and you're going to get zero production out of him. In my opinion, I think he's going to be a shell of himself after 2 more seasons. Look, I think he's in decline. He's going to be 33 next year. After age 34, I think Chapman will have very little left in the tank. As a 35-year-old, you're going to have Chapman at 35, 36, and 37. Why not eat that $75 million you're going to pay him now and trade him and pay $75 million of it to the team that takes him on? They're willing to take half that salary. Then that makes sense, okay? It makes sense. Why would you got to get creative financially. You've got to think outside the box if you're going to compete. And by having that type of forward thinking, you're going to pay it anyway. What was that? The old Fram commercial? You can pay me now or you could pay me later. That's going to be the case with Matt Chapman. Can Matt Chapman still be productive for another year or two? I think so. I think he can be decent, but I think he's part of the problem with this San Francisco Giants team offensively than the solution. Why do I say that? Because he strikes out all the time. He doesn't knock in runs with runners in scoring position. And you can't have that in the middle of your lineup. So I think that's what should happen. We'll see. But this is a good move today, as the Giants, again, if you're just joining us, have fired Bob Melvin, and Melvin is now no longer the manager of the Giants. The search will begin. Who is going to be the next manager of the Giants? My hope is it's just not Hallberg, okay? Hallberg is not the answer for the job. Johnny Cesari is calling Bruce Bochy. That's possible, Johnny. Excuse me. Got to get some fluids in me. It's possible Bochy does the job. He definitely would be better than a lot of people. The question is, do you want to keep going back to, the past of San Francisco Giants glory days? At some point, you got to move forward, and you got to be able to bring in some players that are a manager with some other outside thoughts and ideas to the organization. We'll see. Producer Ryan says he called the Bochy thing over a month ago. We'll see what happens. I would be fine with that. Look, I've been calling, for this firing for a long time. And when we were on the hot corner last night, there was a panel of 4 of us. The question was to each of us on the panel, what do you think happens? And I think we had Glenn say he didn't think anything would happen. Lou, pretty much the same. Eric was 50-50 on the deal. And I said, he'll be fired today. This morning he would be fired. That was what I said. And I said, I don't see any way around it. My thought was if Buster did not fire Melvin, then he was going to be content with losing. And I think that sends a horrible message to the fan base that losing is acceptable and you're okay with mediocrity. And I just didn't see Buster being that. Now I have more confidence in Buster for the job because I said if Buster does not getting a phone call from work, I'm going to have to call that back. I said if Buster does not fire Melvin, then I would be calling out Buster and saying, I don't think he is cut out for this job. Now that he has made this bold move, and let's be frank, this is a bold move after giving him a vote of confidence earlier in the season. But if you recall, I did say that was a good move, but it meant nothing. People were saying, oh, now I said, no, they can still fire him. And I said, I think he will probably get fired because I think that Buster, this is my own personal feeling. I may be off on this. I think Buster is a little bit smarter than we think. I think him giving Melvin a vote of confidence in the offseason, which was important to quiet the noise, but I also think Buster might have been playing chess, saying, let's see how Bob manages when he doesn't have the fear of working as a lame duck. Let's see how he manages when he knows he's got next year's already under the belt. And I think Buster was able to watch Melvin make a lot of poor decisions when it came to the bullpen, not having guys up and ready in the bullpen to back up a guy in case he struggled. And you knew guys like Ryan Walker were constantly struggling. I think there was some very poor choices allowing Ramos to keep playing when he needed a day off just to make a statement, when Ramos was making some ridiculous base running decisions and horrible outfield play. Not that you had to, bench Ramos permanently or for a long extended period, but just to make a statement that type of play is not going to be tolerated. So we'll see where this goes. Yes, Pete Alonso is a free agent. He is opting out of his contract in New York. Will he be a potential player for the Giants? I don't think you can add Pete Alonso to the already existing roster, and he strikes out a lot too. And he is a home run threat, but you got a bunch of home run guys now. You got 4 of them, in my opinion. You got Chapman and Adames and Devers, of course, the main guy. That's 3. Ramos is a 20 home run guy. That's 4. And then if you have Eldridge in the lineup, that would be 5. You can't add Alonso to that without moving off of one of the aforementioned guys, mainly probably a guy like Chapman. You got to get some balance to this lineup going forward. You got to find some guys that make contact. You know, Jose Ramirez struck out 11.5% of the time this year, and Stephen Kwan of Cleveland, 8.5. That's two key guys in their lineup that make contact. And you got to have guys that make contact that can get rallies going. But you do need the home run hitters, because today's game, that's just where it's at. You need some of those home run guys, because you can't just score runs with 9 singles guys, right? But Ramirez to me is one of the top, definitely a top 5 player in the game overall. I mean, you can talk about Judge and Ohtani and Soto, but Jose Ramirez is a top 5 player because he's got power, he steals bases, and he hits for average, and he doesn't strike out. And those guys are really, really hard to find. So we're getting a couple people in here that's saying Mark Hallberg or Nick Hundley. I do not want to see Mark Hallberg, just simply because it's more of a friendship thing, and let's it's semi-nepotism. I mean, it's not a relative or son or anything, but college roommates, and I want to see somebody with some fire. We'll see where the Giants go. I mean, I think this team needs a wake-up guy. Stephen Vogt would have been perfect, but they went with Melvin instead. Gabe Kapler just submitted his application. That's pretty funny. So, but guys, this is big news. Let me hold on one second here. I've got an 11 o'clock appointment. I'm going to see if my client will let me go a little bit later here. One sec. Give me 1 sec here, guys. One second here. All right. So we'll find out here in a bit. Skip Schumacher, yeah, that would be a guy that would be a real possibility. The Tennessee Volunteers coach may be on the potential list. The guy is young, competitive, yeah. Yes, I have. I've seen him. He is really good. Very solid. Very, very solid. Skip would be nice. Is he? All right, Mike. Hold on. Texting with my client. All right. So it looks like we'll be able to keep this going here. So I don't have to end this. My client needs to reschedule a nurse. So they're extremely busy, nurses. I work with a lot of nurses in the financial field that I work in. So, if anybody needs any help with their finances, make sure you give me a call. You can reach me on my work number at 623-825-3900. That's right. Secure Money, 623-825-3900. So I'll put that up for you guys if anybody needs help there. You can or email me at dan@securemoney.com. All right. Either way, give me a call. Secure Money, 623-825-3900. You need any financial help when it comes to your retirement planning, all of that stuff. All right. All right. So let's get back to the comments. Ben Bamboo, absolutely. There's hope. There is hope next year at this point because it gives you the feeling that they're going to make moves. Senior says Bochy comes back to Giants in upper management. Skips Schumacher. He says manager Bochy up with Posey. That would be good. That would be good. That would be very good. So I'd love to get more of your guys' thoughts on this as we move forward in this. The Giants fire Bob Melvin. I'm seeing Mark DeRosa for manager. Let me see here. Hold on one second as I do some other stuff here. One second here. All right. So I'm just sending out some text here and having to do a few little things. Give me 1 second here. One quick sec. Sent. Able. All right. So I think this is Mr. Salty is having his best day, Richie says. What about Ichiro? I don't know. Ichiro is a manager? I'm not sure on that. I've never heard that one. I've never imagined Ichiro as a manager, but that would be interesting. Beto says, I'm a happy Giants fan today and glad they didn't wait to fire him. Regardless of how the season ended, I would like to thank Bob for trying to help this team. Wish him the best of luck. Absolutely. Great comments, Beto. Hope Springs Eternal was a nurse. All right. That's awesome. So, yeah, I do work with a lot of nurses all across the country, as a matter of fact. Thanks for being here. All right. Propa says roster just isn't good enough. They can keep playing musical chairs with managers, but with a lineup of strikeout guys batting 200, you just won't be great. Absolutely, Propa. My thoughts exactly. And I think Posey sees this. He has to, right? I mean, he's a much sharper baseball man than any of us. I see it. You guys see it. It's they've got to find guys that make more contact. I think there's more trades. I will say this. I think they either move Chapman or possibly I wouldn't be surprised if they moved Casey Schmidt in the deal. He wouldn't be the headliner of the deal. He'd be there'd have to be somebody. It wouldn't surprise me even if they moved off of Eldridge to get some type of players that could help them. You look at a Miami, for example. Would Miami consider trading an Xavier Edwards and a Sandy Alcantara a couple years removed, or an Edwin Cabrera for that matter, which would be even better. But would they take an Xavier Edwards who could play really good second base, who's fast, who can hit for average, and gets on base a lot, and a starting pitcher or two from Miami for Eldridge? That might be something that the Giants look at. And you say, well, why would you trade Eldridge? Well, number one, he's unproven, and you just don't know if that's going to completely work out. And he doesn't fit the makeup of this team when you add him to the lineup with Chapman and Adames and Devers. I mean, you're adding another 30% guy that strikes out 30% of the time. You can't have your entire team built that way, because you see what happens. You see what happens when the team has runners on base and they bring up the middle of the lineup and everybody strikes out and you don't score. And sometimes just taking a run at a time. Imagine, let me ask you guys this. Would you rather have 2 innings of crooked numbers where you score 2 runs, or would you rather have 5 or 6 innings where you get 1 run? I mean, the answer is obvious. You take the 6 runs to the 4 runs. So, yeah. Let's see. We got some info. I'm looking here at the chat. All right. Going through the chat here. George says trade Matos and Schmidt for Cincy pitcher Lodolo. Nick Lodolo, not bad. The trade prospect Bo Davis and Wisenhunt and Roop to Miami for Edwin Cabrera, Alcantara, and their best reliever, Ronnie Henriquez build. Yeah, I love Henriquez. He's a great reliever. Alcantara, Cabrera, absolutely. Very familiar with all those guys. And so, yeah, I think that's what you got. Miami would be a really good trade partner. They like younger players that have many years of control and that are not arbitration eligible. That's Miami's thing. Now, Miami has some good young players coming up. They've got Stowers. I'm not sure however you pronounce that. They've got, hey, the Giants had Otto Lopez there. Otto Lopez had a pretty decent season for Miami. And I'm going to pull up Otto Lopez here for a sec, just to look at his numbers. I had him. Okay, Otto Lopez this year. In fact, let me do something here. 1 second. I'm going to pull something up on the I'm going to pull up some stats for you guys to take a look at. Let me just get to it here. All right, here should be coming up here shortly. All right, let me pull this up for you guys. All right, there's some stats for you guys on the screen there. Let me remove this here so we can see it. We need Miami players, and more important, we need to get Miami scouts. Okay, there we go. All right, take a look at these numbers, guys. We got two different players there. One on the right, one on the left. Player on the left, a little more slugging. Player on the right wins and hits by 1, so pretty close, very close. Home runs, player on the left doubled. RBIs, not a whole lot different there. Stolen bases, pretty close. Batting average, 246. On base percentage, we're talking 1%, just over 1% more on base, player on the left. Player OPS, a little higher. WAR, though, if people love WAR, only 3.6 to 3.5. What do you think, guys? Which player is on the left? Which player is on the right? Any guesses there? No guesses on the left or right? All right. Well, I will bring that up for you and show you what I'm talking about here. On the left, Adames, and that's your right. George, you're right. That's the player on the left. And here's the player on the right. Okay. Otto Lopez on the right. Not a ton of production more for a guy making $27 million on the left versus a guy making probably league minimum. So we all love the home run, right? But the Giants need to, in my opinion, they need to complement this offense and have some guys that can get on base. And you can do that if you're creative. I mean, Adames is the better player, but Lopez was a guy that the Giants had in their camp last year. Yeah. He's a guy. Let's see Otto do that one more before saying he's equal to Adames. Didn't use the word equal, JM. I said pretty close in production. But obviously, Adames has the better stats. The OPS plus is pretty significant, 111 to 86. The OPS is, almost 7% higher, 740 to 672. Slugging. So Adames gives you the more power. He doesn't give you a whole lot more being on base, though, is what I'm getting at. And RBIs. So I think if you look at this in that way, you have to say that the Giants are not getting the best value for what they're paying for. That's my point. But you can't have a whole team of Otto Lopez's. Just like you can't have a team of all Willy Adameses. You need balance, is what I'm saying. You need some balance to the lineup. You got to find some guys that really can hit the ball and make contact consistently. Let me do this again. Hold on here. All right, we've got another one I will show you here. Just to give you an idea of, the long ball. Well, this isn't a great comparison, really. Let me redo that, because that is not a solid comparison, because they play two completely different positions. So I will not use that example because it doesn't match up. But you know what? You know what we could do? Let's do that. Let me try doing it with a different player. And this one might work. This one might work. Oop, is that career? Yeah, that one's career. I messed up. Hold on here. Sorry about that, guys. We'll have to redo it. Pull up some different stats as we get going. Chad Springer or Speaker says, go get Stephen Kwan. Yeah, Stephen Kwan would be an excellent player to have. So yeah, we'll definitely have to look that up there. All right, let me go back and do what I was planning on doing here. All right. All right, there we go. All right. So I've got a couple of players here that I'm going to pull up for you guys, and you can take a look at the screen and see which player. Okay, we got two different players right there. This is based off of the 25 season, and you got some different numbers there. You've got WAR, player on the right, a little better. Games, really close. Plate appearances, pretty close. Hits, the guy on the left, much more productive. RBIs, the guy on the left. Stolen bases, player on the right. Batting average, look at that, 311 to 266. On base percentage, slugging. I mean, you got OPS is like within one. Which player there do you think you'd rather have on the Giants for next year? And who do you think those two players are, guys? Who do you think those two players are based on production there? That's pretty productive there if you look at that. And I'm about ready to show you who these two players are. Nobody in the chat's got any guesses before I pull it up. Hope says Dan for manager. You would be great, Dan. Not just saying that. Oh boy, that would be that could be comical. Me, number one, me as a manager. Number two, me in a uniform these days. But you know, I used to think when I was growing up I could do it. But there's a lot to managing, and I'm used to managing people. But and we welcome into the show Dallas. Welcome, Dallas.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey,
any news this morning?
As the character that he is any news happening? Yeah, we're just talking about a couple players here, comparing a couple players, saying player on the left, player on the right. If you could pick one of those players, I don't think you go wrong with either one of these guys. But
I think you go with the over 300 batting average.
Yeah,
that's pretty good. They're playing the same number of games, about the same number of plate appearances.
Yeah,
4 home runs isn't a big deal, but 94 RBIs and 311. The guy on the left is.
I agree.
I'll take him.
Yeah, and you have just selected Bo Bichette over Kyle Tucker, and I think
probably
you get
cheaper too.
A lot cheaper. Yeah, we were doing this with a couple guys, and so there you go, guys. I don't think you're going to get Tucker to come to San Francisco. I think you could get Bichette. I think Bichette, right-handed batters can, as evidenced by Adames hitting 30 homers. I mean, Bo Bichette there, he had only 18, but he's probably hit 18 still. The balls in going to left field are not as difficult to get out as they are in right center here, for obvious reasons. But
they don't need someone that hits home runs, though.
No,
they need someone.
That's the exact point.
They've got plenty of those guys.
Someone just asked, can we see strikeouts? Sure. I'm going to guess that I will give you their percentage, okay? Kyle Tucker, for example, Kyle Tucker struck out this year. Wow. He's pretty good. I didn't realize Tucker was 88 times in 597 plate appearances, 14.7% for Kyle Tucker. How about if we get them both? The Giants could actually afford it, believe it or not. Bo Bichette, on the other hand, he struck out this year 91 times in 628 plate appearances, 14.4. So they're equal. Those would be two great additions, Dallas, to this team.
Yeah, just a matter of finances. Finances have to work out. It puts you in the luxury tax if you went that route. Plus, you got to shore up the pitching staff.
Yes,
and if you want to add a number 2 or even a number 3 pitcher, that's some money there. You really need to add 2 pitchers.
Yeah,
2 starters. So there's a lot of pieces you could add, a lot of holes that you got to fill, and it'll be interesting to see where they go with all of it. But the first domino has dropped, and that was one I think we all pretty much agreed needed to happen.
Yeah, and it's a good move in the sense, if you recall last night on the Hot Corner, I said we had predictions. I think I was the only one that gave a firm prediction that said today he gets fired. Well, no, Lou did have a prediction. He didn't think he would get fired. I think Glenn was pretty much the same. Eric was on the 50-50. He just said it could go either way. But Eric did say he thought it would happen today, too. We'd know today. So I think in the fact
after that thing about Bob not having assurances of
I knew that's when I knew he was gone.
That was pretty much it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because if he had been given assurance, and then you heard Zach Menasson's comments a few days ago that they would evaluate
no ringing
everything.
Endorsements.
Yeah. When you don't get that, guys, it's a sure tail sign. If they don't give you the yes, he will be back, you're pretty much can just bank on it about 90% of the time that the guy is going to be let go. So who do you think some candidates might be, Dallas?
Well, I'm hearing Mark DeRosa. I'm hearing Nick Hundley, of the people that haven't done it before. I'm hearing Greg Papa saying maybe they trade for Stephen Vogt.
Interesting. Now, Mark DeRosa would be interesting. Wasn't he a teammate of Buster's?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He was in the 2010 team, wasn't he, for a while? Or 09? Let me look.
See.
I can look that up. Mark DeRosa. I'm pretty sure He
Played for the
played.
Giants in 10 and 11.
Yeah. All right. So a Buster teammate and a outstanding communicator. Outstanding communicator. You've seen him on MLB Network. He is the manager for the World Baseball Classic. And I would imagine that he could, we talked about it the other night saying he could give that role up and someone else could take it over. He could probably still do both, to be honest. It's in the spring. It's for what, 1 week?
Yeah, he could probably still do both, but you get a chance at a major league managing job, you take it,
Yeah.
Someone else does the other thing. There's plenty of other guys that can fill in there. Bob Melvin's available.
Right. There you go. Bob Melvin. Wouldn't that be an ironic twist of fate that Bob Melvin becomes the manager of the World Baseball Classic while
He'd
Mark
be fine with
DeRosa-
that,
Yeah. He'd be
I
playing
got
with
no problem
stars.
with Bob Melvin, but it didn't work here. So you
Right.
got to move on. You got to try something different.
Senior says he thinks the Bochy Skip connection is really strong. I would say he's the number one candidate right now. You know what? Let's hope this thing gets done here this month October. We're almost, let's hope this thing gets settled in October and doesn't.
I imagine it will. I don't think this is something, because you got to start making plans for the future.
Yes.
You got to start getting people in place, coaching staff. There's a lot to be done. So I don't think you can just sit on your hands for too long.
Yeah,
the
let's
Bochy thing. I wouldn't be opposed to bringing Bochy back for a year or two,
correct.
as long as they hired somebody else that is the heir apparent as a bench coach or something that it's written down beforehand. This guy is the guy we are grooming to take Bochy's spot when he's done, and then that way they can have that longevity in place. Because right now you don't want to hire a guy that is going to give you 2 years and that's it. Bochy's got to retire here pretty soon so he could start that Hall of Fame clock and get that in.
Yeah.
So,
and you know what? The more I hold on here. You know what? I just realized something at top. I forgot our banner. Let's get that in there. There we go.
now they know what they're watching.
Yeah. Yeah. The more I think about this, I'm not sure I want Boch as the manager either. I want to go something new. And the more I think about this, I think the perfect guy for this job, Skip Schumacher, would be great. Yes, I agree. There's a few great candidates. I mentioned Yadier Molina. I don't think he's probably on the even thought process. But this guy we've talked about, you know why this would be such a great move, Ben? Is DeRosa is so well known and respected among baseball people, managing the World Baseball Classic a couple years ago, I guess it was, and him being in the media every day. You watch him do, talk, takes on players. He's a fabulous communicator. He's a guy that could actually help recruit players. All right, that's my guy right there. It just hit me square in the head. This is the guy that has the ability. He's dealing with the top players in baseball. I mean, especially the U.S. players, but he can also attract other players, but he can attract guys. What has he been doing the last 3-4 months since he was named the baseball manager for the USA again? I've listened to him on MLB radio. He says, I'm calling everybody that I want, and I'm calling them and calling them and calling. Don't you think that would be a plus for what the Giants need? It's a team that can't seem to attract good players. And he's one of the best communicators in the sport. And I think the Giants have lacked communication. Kapler was a horrible communicator. Melvin was old school, wasn't a guy that could relate to a lot of these younger guys, I think. I think this team needs a guy that is, look, DeRozan knows all of the players in the game as far as what they're doing. He may not know them all personally, but he is on top of, every night he's on Major League Baseball and he's talking about players and what this guy does. And he breaks down their swings and he says, look at this. That's like hands-on managing is what I think this team needs. I don't think they need another Melvin or a Bochy type that kind of sits back. And I love Boch, but I think he's not going to be the long-term guy. He would be a 1 to 2 year gap. 2 years, I would think he would be at the most. But DeRosa's connections, as Ben says, they're amazing. This guy would be able to bring in the best coaches. He would be able to go out and be part of the recruitment of free agents. I think he could help some of the players like Chapman because I think he could communicate to them what he sees that they need to do. But this is the guy. If you want a guy that is great for the front office, a great spokesman for the team, a guy that can communicate, a guy that's young. Look, he just was in the game less than 15 years ago. So to me, I really like him. Cliff Martinez says he could see David Ross. That's another possibility. Another guy that's was on that 2016 Cubs World Championship team and then later managed the Cubs. David Ross is a guy. Good call, Cliff. Very good call. What do you think, Dallas?
I think that would be a good choice. I kind of like the points that you made there. Yeah, I can see them go in that direction. If that is the case, that's probably if that is the case, I would assume that Buster has already had conversations, and that's something that would already have been in mind if he's making the move right now. So
because that wouldn't be tampering, right? That wouldn't be tampering. He's not a manager.
No, exactly. So if that is the case, then it might be a very soon that we get an announcement, with next week or so. But yeah, it's good. It's interesting to see where they're going to go with this. And then obviously he said the manager is going to be able to pick their own coaching staff. So there will be a lot of turnover in the coaching, which is a good thing, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I think they're going to get a good manager here. I think going outside the organization is the right time now. I don't think going with Hallberg and staying within the Giants community. Look, we've already seen this with Maniason. We've seen this kind of with Melvin. He was an ex-player. Yes, DeRosa was an ex-player for the Giants. Yes, but he's not really a giant. He's been in baseball circles for a long time in a high capacity of in the public eye. This guy is a real great communicator. And I think the Giants, you would also, if Mark DeRosa was the man, it would get a lot of publicity among Major League Baseball itself because of his connection to the MLB network, which would be very good for the Giants and recruitment. Tony C says, give me Molina. I would be very happy with Yadier Molina. I mentioned him. I've done a video on that. I think DeRosa, Molina, as Cliff said, David Ross, Skip Schumacher. There's 4 really good candidates right there. If you look at DeRosa, Schumacher, Ross, and who did I miss? Molina. There's 4 guys that would fit the bill, and they're all younger mind. They all come from a younger generation. Sour shoes. Maybe the comment of the day: DeRosa can't lower that brick wall and lessen the air density with his communication skills. Meaning that's still the problem. Yeah, that's pretty funny. David Bell, Stephen J says, Giants messed up not hiring votes, says Joshua. Joshua Pepars, if I pronounce it. Hope I didn't butcher that. Sorry if I did.
The wall's not the problem. Hopefully they get someone that can change the approach. Don't try to hit it over the wall. Try to hit it off the wall.
There we go. Yeah. Maybe Devers would sign benefit. I know Elliot Ramos would. Benji's from Puerto Rico, just like Elliot, and would definitely benefit. Tony says Giants can still have vote. Look, there's some candidates here. There's some pretty good candidates when you talk about those names that have just come up. You have a preference or a prediction? I shouldn't say a guess, a prediction. What do you think?
I think you're onto something with this DeRosa thing.
I do too. I don't know. I feel like I'm starting to sniff this. It feels like a perfect fit. He was on Buster's team when he first came up. Well, Buster came up at the end of 2009 for a cameo in September. And then, of course, 10, comes up in the season and replaces Benji Molina, Yadier's brother. But he's on that team. I don't know if he wasn't on the championship roster, was he? Was he on the I don't think was he on the World Series team?
Absolutely.
Just DeRosa? Was he? I can't remember.
DeRosa? I don't know. No.
DeRosa. DeRosa. Did he get a ring? I don't know.
Well, he got a ring no matter what, but
yeah, he got a ring. Let me see. Let's see. 210 during a period which was part of the team's 2000 World Series championship, though he did not play in the World Series itself. Okay. He was signed by the Giants as a veteran utility man to help replace Barry Bonds and provide depth in the lineup and outfield. However, injuries limited his playing time to only 73 games over 2 seasons with the team. But yeah, him and Buster have a relationship. They had to, to me, that's a perfect fit. Nick Hundley, that's the other guy we forgot. He could be in this.
Willie Mack Award winner.
Yeah, Willie Mack Award winner. I got a feeling it's going to be either Hundley. I'll say it's between 3 guys. And I Hundley, DeRosa, and unfortunately, I don't want to say this. Hope it's not Mark Hallberg. And I'm hoping Hallberg is the last guy they pick. Hundley would be good. DeRosa would be good. Hey, look, Skip Schumacher would be good. David Ross would be good. Yadier Molina. There's some pretty darn good candidates out there. And they're all guys that seem to fit the mold of a younger, 40s, guys in their mid 40s. Boch would be great just because what he was with the Giants, and he is the Giants, all-time guy, winning 3 World Series. But I'm not sure that's the right time to do this again. And the
Just
other
because
guy,
you want to have a chance to get somebody that could be your manager for 10 years, you know?
yeah, like Dave Roberts, the Dodgers, been there a long time. Yeah.
So you want, especially if he comes in and it works, then you want to be able to just continue that on for a long stretch. If it comes in with Bochy and it works, great. You know, you'd love to see that happen, but then you know you're going to have to make a change in a couple of years, and then you're starting over again. So you want somebody that I think you have the possibility of that long term type of
and I don't think Ron Wotus is the answer, even though I think he would be great at the job. I don't think he's yet what you just said, Dallas. He's not going to be the long term guy. They need to get somebody this is a great job. You know, it's one of the top 10 Major League Baseball managing jobs out there. You're talking about an iconic franchise, a franchise that if you go back to all of baseball, since the history of baseball, has the most regular season wins of any team, more so than the Yankees or the Dodgers. This is not your Tampa Bay Rays, Miami Marlins job. This is an iconic job. And I think the one thing about DeRosa that I like over Yadier Molina, I like Yadier, and I'd be thrilled with that, is DeRosa's not tied to an organization like Yadier. Yadier's a Cardinal. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be tough maybe to pull him away from St. Louis, even if he doesn't have a job lined up with St. Louis as a manager to replace Marmel. You know, that might be
it's like his course is headed back there someday.
Yeah, exactly. Where DeRosa, I don't think he has a tie to a particular team, you know? So, you know, that's just the way I see it. So, this will be an interesting few weeks coming up. I mean, you got the baseball playoffs. I think this is me again thinking, and I'm sure you got your own thoughts on this, Dallas. I'd love to get your thoughts. I think naming a guy at least during the height of the playoffs or the World Series is good publicity for the Giants.
Yeah. I don't know if baseball has rules about that. You know, there's like a window before the playoffs where you can make these things, and then you might be embargoed to wait until the end. I'm not sure if that's the case or not, but there could also be people that he's looking at that are in the playoffs right now, either, you know, on coaching staffs or currently managing teams. And, you know, he may want to kick the tires on those people after the playoffs are over before he, you know, pulls the trigger, if he doesn't already have somebody lined up. So it might take at least until after the playoff run in order for us to get some news on this. But it really depends on if he knows who it is now and they're not currently employed, then we might get news quickly. And if otherwise, it might take till after the playoffs are over.
Yeah. Yeah. So Sour Shoe says, I'm a no on Yadier. Jill says, I doubt DeRosa will leave MLB, but maybe he can be lured. I don't know. I would think it's his desire to be a manager unless he wants to he enjoys the life of managing every couple of years the World Baseball Classic and doing his job on the TV set. Maybe she's right. That's a good point. Maybe he doesn't want that.
Yeah. I mean, there's financial reasons too. Mark DeRosa didn't make a ton of money in his major league career. I mean, so you make a couple $1 million managing a team, you know, you can sign a 3-year contract and you know, you could could be a factor. I don't know.
Yeah, there's one thing about being a big league manager is you're if you get hired, you can pretty much bank on it. You're going to get fired someday. Not all the
That's
time.
true.
Not all the time. I mean, guys, Dave Roberts is yet to be fired, and but if he doesn't win the World Series in the next 2 to 3 years, I bet you he'll be on the block.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, when you're spending that much money, you kind of have to.
Yeah, I mean,
But
if the
he won it
Dodgers
last
go,
year, so
yeah, he
bought
won it
himself
last
some
year, but
time.
if they don't win it in this year or the next two after that, I would say he would be on the chopping block.
Yeah.
Cliff Martinez says Mark Hallberg is the leading candidate as of this moment because of his connection with Posey and interviewing for the managerial position after the Kapler firing. Yeah, and that, to me, Cliff, I agree with that sentiment that he may be the leading candidate just because of his ties to the organization and to Posey. It's pretty tight connections, and if you think about it, a lot of times it's not what you know, it's who you know, right? That gets you into the circles. And my only thing with this is that it's just you're not really making a lot of change. You're bringing a guy in that everybody's familiar with, and maybe, hey, if this is the route they go, Dallas, it tells me that Buster likes the safe route. He went
It
with
tells me that he wants to manage the team himself. He would basically he would just do what Posey tells him to do. He'd say, "Hey, we're going to manage this team together. Here's what you're going to do." He's going to have his finger on what's going on. Whereas if you hire somebody from the outside, you're going to give them the autonomy and you'll have input and suggestions and whatever. But it's going to be who's calling the shots. And it seems like to me, if Hallberg is the guy, then it's Posey calling the shots.
NorCal Sports Talk Live says they're not promoting Hallberg. It would be, to me, if they do the Hallberg thing, it means that Buster's not really, in my opinion, thinking outside the box too much. He's thinking familiarity. He's thinking, I mean, the one thing we do have with Buster is he interviewed for the GM job and he had, a wide circle, you would think, and he narrowed it down to someone in-house, which with zero experience as a general manager, had some trade experience, but this will be an interesting move. NorCal Sports Talk Live says, will Hallberg be here forever because he's Posey's friend? Yes. Will he be the manager? No. I would hope you're right. And I think that makes a lot of sense. A lot of times hiring your good buddy and being their boss most times that doesn't pan out because
that's a tough situation.
Because relationships can always go sour, and you don't want that in that type of position.
Yeah. Plus, if they continue to lose, then you have to fire your friend.
Yeah. Mike Matheny, former Giants catcher and Cardinals manager. That's a possibility too. Aaron Boone. Yeah, he may be gone from the Yankees this year. Maybe that's another interesting take, Aaron Boone. I think Posey's going to have a pretty good net to go fishing in and scoop.
There's a lot of possibilities. Seems like to me maybe he already has this figured out.
Yeah, you may be right. You may be right there. So should be fun. Should be fun. So I don't know. Cliff, is Kai Correa available?
I believe he is.
He's with Cleveland, I think. There you go. Hey, we didn't get Stephen Vogt, but we got Kai Correa. He did interview for the job as well 2 years ago. You think about Bob Melvin. He went 161 and 163 as a Giant. 161 and 163.
Yep. And if he had gone 164 and 160 or whatever that works out to be,
166 and
164 and 160, then the Giants would have made the playoffs this year and he wouldn't have been fired.
Yeah. Yeah, but 4 of those wins had to come this year, right? Yeah. Not right. Spread out over.
If they had won more games this year, then he'd still have a job. It's not what it's a very thin margins for error here.
Oh, awesome. Robert Boyd, 14 months. Hell yeah. Love this channel. Thank you, Robert, for being a member and a supporter of the show. Jeff Taylor, another member for 14 months, says, love Bochy, but do not want him back. He's old and the game is changing. No guarantee he'd be successful in a second stint. Enough nostalgia. Move forward. Agreed, Jeff. Thank you for your support as a member. Good comments. So, couple of members, 14 months. There we go. Yeah. So lots to chew on. And we'll see where this thing goes. We'll see where this thing goes. And Matt Williams has, looking across the news here, Matt Williams saying he will not be returning. So that was pretty well known. We pretty much figured. And Pat Burrell, I'm sure, will not be returning. A lot of these guys.
If Matt Williams just picked up the signals we were giving him, we weren't waving him back, you know.
Right.
Time to turn that page.
Yeah. So we'll see where this thing goes. We'll see where.
Mr. Posey said he's generally pretty open with his managerial search. To me, that sounds like he's got his guy.
Pretty open, yeah. I'm pretty open, yeah. Yeah, that's a good comment, George. Bob Melvin's record is not bad for having a very flawed roster the last 2 years. I do think we need a change. Yeah, that's a really good statement. Melvin did a pretty decent job based on what he was given. And if you look at the fact that the bullpen was decimated with the trade deadline and then losing Randy Rodriguez, you pretty much were, what's the old saying? You were running on empty is one of them, or you were.
Sure.
You were,
but really, the decision happened before that. Yes, they got close at the end, which helped, but because they had that prolonged slump right before the trade deadline, it forced Buster's hand to sell. But if they had played better during that stretch, then maybe they added a pitcher at the trade deadline. They didn't sell their bullpen, and they would have had a really good chance to make the playoffs. But the decision was made early in the year to kick this season, and they made it interesting despite that. But I think maybe his fate was sealed at that point.
That's an interesting dark horse. Craig Albertez, the former bullpen coach of the Giants, and good coach. Yeah, he's been a good coach.
How do you
will
feel
be,
about pitching coaches being the manager? Like you were.
Well, Roger
floating, Ryan
Craig. Roger Craig
Vogelsong.
was a pitching coach at one
That's
point.
true, yeah. But like you were throwing Vogelsong's name around a month ago,
Mm.
and
Maybe Larry was throwing that name around as a guy that would come and be.
maybe
the
Larry was, yeah.
pitching coach. I think he was talking about Vogelsong becoming the pitching coach. I could see that.
Mm-hmm.
I could see that. Yeah. I don't think there's any pitching coaches out there right now that I'm aware of that would become, a Giants manager. I don't know. But, hey, it's a big day in San Francisco Giants history again. A manager, anytime you let go of a manager. And I was pretty certain it would again happen today, and I didn't think it would drag on. So I am on record as of right now, and I've actually put this out on record saying that if Buster did not make this move today or soon afterwards, I said I don't think he would be the right man for the job going forward, because it would tell me that he doesn't have the mentality of business is business, and I'm all about, winning at this business. So I will say this: I have more hope now going forward that Buster can do this job and complete what he took over to do.
I'm glad he was able to clear that hurdle, Dan, so that you don't have to turn on him.
Yeah, because we wouldn't want to turn on Buster, because you know what? We can't. I can't hurt this guy, right? There he is.
Yep.
There's Buster, always near my side. I would hate to turn on Buster. That would not be a good thing. No, I honestly felt like if Buster didn't make this move, then I thought, well, he's more about being too nice to his with his relationships.
Yeah, I don't think it's I'm not really worried about that. I think he has the tenacity, and he has he's a serious baseball guy. He wants to win. He has that in mind. And I think he's going to make whatever decisions he has to make in order to get that back on track, because he's in a pretty good position. He can, he's got the fan base in his corner, and so he can push ownership around. He can push whoever he needs to around, because he has the clout. He's Buster Posey, and if you go against him, then the fan base is going to follow. So he's got a lot of power for a president of baseball operations.
Yeah.
And he's spent some money. He's been able to sign some contracts, and we'll see if he continues to push his weight around as far as that goes. But to be able to step up and say, yes, I extended him a couple of months ago, and now I've changed my mind. And
hey,
I did that as a tactic to try to get this team motivated. It didn't work. And
absolutely,
you can't just keep throwing bad money in after good. You've got to make a decision, and he did. So,
give him credit.
Buster.
I did say at Dallas, when they gave Melvin the extension, I said this was a good move. It settles things down. It takes the weight off of the lame duck. But I also said this doesn't mean he won't get fired still, because look, I think it was a great move, and it could have been a chess move. Let's see how Melvin manages the rest of the year with no pressure on him, thinking he's a lame duck. And sometimes you get a chance to see someone's true colors when there's no pressure.
I think it was worth the gamble, because then
Absolutely.
you fire him mid-season then, and you bring somebody else in interim basis, and you're basically just chalking the rest of the season up to, not going to happen. So
right. And Buster said today, Alex Pavlovich from Buster Posey on a third firing in 3 years. It's not ideal, right? Definitely not ideal. Said he feels that when you have a bad year, you can't say, we'll do the same thing this year for the next year. Amen, Buster. Exactly. Buster Posey said he's generally pretty open with his managerial search. His main goal is to find someone who is obsessive about the details, obsessive about work, and getting the most out of our players and our staff. Sounds like the previous staff, to be honest.
Yeah. And it's a lot of firings, but it was just a way to get Buster Posey in there, and now he's got to get his guy in there. He didn't hire Bob Melvin. He made it work for a year, but he's going to want to put his own stamp on this organization instead of trying to make it work with the guy that someone else hired. So,
well, that's what he's saying. Sounds like the previous staff. He's talking about Kapler and his crew.
Yeah,
Alex.
You fired Kapler, but that was Zaidi's last chance to stay involved. Then they fired Zaidi to get Posey in there. Now Posey has to fire Melvin because he was those guys' previous regime. So now you can start clean, fresh, with all Posey people and no more of the past.
Right. I gotta believe that puts somebody like Mark DeRosa right at the top based on those comments. The guy that if you watch Mark DeRosa, he is a stickler to details and has a really strong work ethic. And there's other guys out there too, but he seems like a guy that could be someone that fits that mold that Buster's looking for. Let's get a few more quotes out here. Here's Susan Slusser. We said about Matt Williams, tells me he will not return. Logan Webb, as a player, it's tough to see Bob Melvin go. He brought a lot of experience and stability to the clubhouse, and we respected his leadership. The last 2 seasons didn't get us to the postseason, and I know the front office is hungry for wins. It's a business, and change happens, but Bob's a great manager who gave us his all, and I'm definitely going to miss being around him every day. Bob was amazing to me and taught me a lot. That is from Susan Slusser. Also, bench coach Ryan Christensen tells me he will not be back with the Giants next season either. It looks like the whole coaching staff's gone. Well, maybe not Hallberg. I'm told some coaches were informed they'd be recommended to a new manager, but they are not guaranteed positions. Posey says that the fate of the coaching staff is likely to be determined when the manager is hired. Chance for some to keep jobs. It sounds like Posey didn't indicate anyone on the staff was let go today apart from Melvin. I have who might Posey be considering to become the new Giants manager? Let's see if we can open this up.
Hey, Dan, I'm going to step away for a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Be right back.
No worries. Thanks. Who might? You know what? You got to subscribe to the Chronicle to get that. So forget that. We will not be subscribing to the Chronicle to pull that article up. If anybody does have that article or knows what it's the basis of it saying, let us know in the chat. Ben says Melvin was the absolute worst we've had in my decades as a Giants fan. What's the article? Senior says, I told you guys Schumacher is a major candidate. I would agree. Does anybody know what that article said from Susan Slusser? I don't subscribe to the Chronicle. Yeah, we knew Pat Burrell was gone. That had to go. George says, I hope JP Martinez stays. He's an excellent pitching coach. Yeah, that would be good. So we'll see who the Schumacher. I think the three candidates you got to look at are Shoemaker, DeRosa, Nick Hundley. I would put those three at the top of the list of who I think it will be one of those three guys. Let's say DeRosa, Hundley, or Shoemaker. DeRosa, Hundley, or Shoemaker. I think one of those three guys will get the job is just my guess. Just, it could be somebody else. We mentioned, Cliff mentioned David Ross, former Cubs manager. Mike Matheny, former Cardinals manager. Yeah, there's guys out there that have had some managerial experience that could get the job again. Yeah. Yes. So true. Glad Buster didn't take that sweep of the Rockies too seriously. Farhan would have taken that sweep and ran with it like he did at the 24 trade deadline. Yeah, exactly. This is what I was saying all along. I don't think we mentioned the name of the Giants, Ron Wotus, as well. I don't think Wotus is the answer for the job because it doesn't give you the stability. Although Buster has a great relationship with Wotus, Wotus could be an outside shot, but Cliff says Hallberg, Hundley, Ross, and Albarnez. Interesting. What do you think about Ron Wotus, a guy who was there for all of Buster's career in the dugout and clubhouse? Do you think he might be a guy? Not so sure. Not so sure if that's the answer. We'll see where this goes. I think, Hallberg, to me, he's the one guy on the list that I'm least excited about. And I don't know anything really about Mark Hallberg, other than to say he just doesn't strike me as a guy that, would be a possible difference maker. Maybe he's the best candidate. Maybe he would be great, and I'm missing it. I'm just not crazy about somebody who's somebody's college roommate and is a friend and all that. And yeah, he's a good baseball guy and all that. Maybe he would be the perfect guy. I have no idea. Senior says Cliff Shoemaker, manager, Bochy, upper management. Yeah, we'll see on that. Yeah, there's all the beautiful chicken who wants to be read says he hates speculation. Well, that's what sports is about, beautiful chicken. A lot of speculation. That's what we talk about in sports. In the end, it's, if you think about it, what does our opinion really matter? It's just all a bunch of guys making opinions, right? We're all just throwing stuff out. So, you know, we'll see. We'll see where it goes. I kind of I like DeRosa. I like Yadier Molina. I like Nick Hundley. I like Skip Shoemaker. Okay, Cliff. Posey would want someone around his age and style, detail oriented. My money is on Craig Albanese. You know, you could be right there. This is why. Let's see. Posey is. What is Buster? 37 or something like that. Buster Posey is born in 87. So, yeah, he's 37. Buster will be 38 next year in March. So Buster's 38. How old is Craig Albanese? Craig Albanese is 5 years older than Posey. Born in 82. So he's like 43-ish. Right? Am I doing my math right? 82 plus 18 brings us to 2000 plus another 25. Yeah. That would make him, well, October 30th, he'll be 43. Okay. So 43, Posey's 37. How about Mark DeRosa? Mark DeRosa is, yeah, he's a little older. Born in 75. So he's 50. Mark DeRosa's 50. Posey's 37. How about Yadier Molina? He's the Puerto Rican manager for the World Baseball Classic. Yadier is how old is Yadier? Come on, give me his age. I'll have it for you in just a minute. Yadi's was born in 82, so he's right there with Albanese. He's 43 years old. Let's see. Trying to think of anybody else. Oh, who were the other candidates we were talking about? Skip Shoemaker. How about Skip Shoemaker? Skip is born in 80. So he's 45. He's right there. Skip's got a strong personality. I think the Giants need a stronger personality. Personally, I think this team needs somebody that's going to be strong and crack the whip. It's got some tenacity to them. Skip does have that. How about Nick Hundley? I think Nick Hundley might be the guy that fits right in there. Nick Hundley was born in 83, so he's 4 years younger than Buster. He's about 41 years of age. In fact, he turns 41. Wait. 17 plus 25 is 42. Yeah, he'll be 42 in September next week. So just over a week, Nick Hundley will be 42. Yeah, Ben, I agree. When you talk about detailed, he's as detailed as you can get. So is Yachty, who could lay out an entire game plans with his pitches before games. Yeah. DeRosa and Yachty, those, I mean, come on. Wouldn't you love to have a mind like Yadier Molina that is, wow. He you talk about a guy that was maybe as smart as anybody. He's the guy. I like those two guys, Ben, a lot. Yes. KC on the talk of Matt Chapman. You don't have to eat $75 million to trade Chapman. He just led all third basemen and more. I hate Chapman, but maybe it's like $30 million to move him and get back a prospect. Hey, maybe you're right, KC. I'm just throwing out 75 to make it a sure guaranteed thing. You move him, but anywhere from 30 to 40 million, you might be right. I mean, he's owed right now 125 million left. So someone's got, 5 years at 125 million. That would, if you took 40 off that, let's say 5 years at 90, that drops it down to 18 million a year. If you paid 50 million of that and only owed, instead of 125, you took off, you only owed 75 million, right? And had 5 years left. That's a $15 million a year contract. That's much more like it. So Dallas will be back here shortly. I'm going to move this off the screen, and he'll be back when he comes in. We'll get him in here. So Big Al 559 says it'll be someone with manager experience. Well, DeRosa and Yadier Molina. Yadier is going to be the manager of the World Baseball Classic. Beautiful chicken wise, and someone talking about Bruce Bochy. We've mentioned Bochy quite a bit. Cliff says, I just don't see Mark DeRosa as a manager. Since retiring, he's taken a coaching role at any level, and the only dugout experience he was managing Team USA in the World Baseball Classic. Yeah. But Cliff, at the same time, if you look at Stephen Vogt, no managerial experience either, and he's taken Cleveland to 2 consecutive American League Central Division titles. So having managerial experience, you got to start somewhere. But the Giants don't have to choose that route. If they want to go with someone with experience, I get your point. If that's the criteria that Posey might want someone that has, but he didn't say that. He didn't say that one of his requirements is that they have major league manager experience, or any managerial experience, I guess, for that matter. I don't know. Has Hallberg had any managerial experience, or Albertez? Maybe they did in the minors. I'm not sure. I didn't follow that. Yeah, Dusty didn't manage before when he took over the Giants in '93. Tony Santos says, I asked for DeRosa instead of Melvin. How about the guy we talked about? Someone mentioned it up earlier. The Tony, I want to pronounce it right, or wrong, but Tony, is it Valetti? I think it might have been Philip. It was either Philip or George Curry. Somebody mentioned the Tennessee Volunteers manager. Now that's a great communicator. That guy knows how to recruit too. He gets some of the best college players. Giants just drafted one of the Tennessee's players, the second baseman. Their number 1 pick this year was from Tennessee. Could he be a guy? Now that guy's a fireballer. Great communicator. It'll be fun. This is part of the whole sports thing, right? Is Vitello, would change the culture instantly. Yeah. Hey, you know something? The more I think about that too, he could be a possibility because Buster's wanting to go younger and get more contact, more athletic guys. Vitello, I mean, he's a guy that if you watch the MLB draft, he was on the draft talking about, um, every player that is, out there as far as their qualities and what he liked. And he recruited a lot of these players that did not end up going to college, but were drafted as a high school. That's true. Some guys just have it. He's a winner. He might be a guy that might be somebody that would be interesting. I mean, I think this is really good for the Giants in that Buster is going to have a fresh start, pick his own guy, and Buster's keen on communication and relationships, and he's going to be able to get started with his very own guy at the top, and that's a huge thing for Posey and the Giants. And I think this will be a pretty intensive search. I don't think he has his guy like nailed down. I would be surprised at that because you learn so much about someone in an interview and you get their thoughts. I'm sure there's probably going to be 5 to 10 guys interviewed for this job. Wouldn't surprise me. And I think interviews will start as early as Wednesday of this week. I could see guys getting called right now and interviews starting this week, interviews going on for the first week, and then you'll get second interviews happening probably in a week after that. And after the second interviews, you're going to start getting rumors who there's leaning toward. And I think we'll know somewhere in the next couple of weeks who that manager is going to be. So this should be a fun time. Brandon Crawford, Jill says, or Jim, I'm sorry, not Jill, Jim. I was right on the 500. Well, I said they're a 500 team. I did actually project them to go over this year, to be honest. I thought I gave them a win total of 86. I was off by 5. Originally thought 83 to 84 in my head. And then I upped it to 86 because I got caught up in a little bit of the preseason hype that was happening, and I thought they could carry it, but should have looked at it more objectively and seen that this team just doesn't have the horses in the pitching department. I think all our executives work in Texas give him 3 more years, then offer the job to Brandon Crawford. Good sentimental thought. I don't think Crawford would want to manage. That's my guess. I don't know. I don't think he'd want to. Christopher Byer says Chapman not going over his contract says so. Yeah, but that can be broken, Christopher. Just because someone has a no trade contract, guys get traded all the time. But I think you're probably right. I don't think they're going to look to trade Chapman. I think they like Chapman a lot. Yeah, Marcus Tanner, Dan, I wish Melvin was the only problem. Analytics issue is organizational. Flores pinch hit for Eldridge, et cetera. Yeah, that's frustrating. Very frustrating. KC, you might be right. I think, trading Chapman, Lee, and Ramos could bring you some decent players. I I would be surprised if one of those three gets traded. If one of those three gets traded. Now, if you traded all three of them and really started making some wholesale changes, I would be happy with that. I would be very happy with that. Let's see. Oh, okay, Cliff. He says, I never said he didn't have managerial experience. I said only managerial experience he has had was. Oh, okay. Oh, he's talking to Ben. Okay. Yeah. I thought maybe. Let's see. Carol. Yeah, college rah-rah gets old fast in the pros. Yeah, she's talking about Tennessee's coach there. Yeah. Let's see before we go through this chat here, get some final thoughts. Thoughts on Adames reaching 30 home runs? Oh, I'm happy for him. Happy that he was able to get it. Kind of gets one so-called monkey off the Giants organizational back. Now, if you bring Ramos back and start him in left field, you end that whole string. That would be nice, so that they could say, we've had a different left fielder every opening day since 2004 or whatever it was. And then we haven't had somebody hit a home run. Giants hit 30 home runs since Barry Bonds. Be nice to eliminate both of those. Guys, I really like Elliot Ramos. I think he's still young and can learn and grow as a player. You got to remember he's 26 and he did make a lot of boneheaded base running mistakes, and the gaffes he did out there in left field was pretty bad this year. I don't know if that's something that can be corrected or not. To be honest with you, I'm not sure. But I like Ramos and hate to give up on him. But if you can get somebody back that's going to be a starter, either a quality starting pitcher or an everyday player that fits the team's need more, then yeah, I'm okay with it. Yeah, let's am I going to chant trade Chapman all off season and look stupid afterwards? Chant? I don't know if I'm going to chant it. Chant. I think I'm talking about making the suggestion. And will I bring it up more than once? Probably. But again, I said, I don't think it'll happen. So I don't know how I will look stupid saying I think they should trade him, but I don't think it's going to happen. I'm not saying it's going to happen. So I expect Matt Chapman to be in a Giants uniform probably for the rest of his career. But I still think he should be traded. Where do I think Melvin ends up? I think Melvin probably hangs it up as a manager. Probably just do some talking on shows and different things like that. I don't know. Melvin's had a good career, guys. You know what? We're not going to sit here and bash Bob Melvin and say he was not a good big league manager. Bob Melvin had a pretty darn good record for a manager. In fact, let me see what his record was here. If you want to compare, I mean, he didn't ever win the big one, right? But Bob Melvin, managerial record, 1651 and 1561, a 51.4% winning percentage. He never won a World Series or even got to a World Series. So there's, in a long career, that's a slight knock, but he did have he did have a better winning percentage than Bruce Bochy. And I'm not saying he's Bruce Bochy or better than Bruce Bochy. I'm just putting it in perspective that Bob Melvin was not a horrible big league manager. Yeah, I think that's probably accurate. He was good with the A's, had a good year with the Diamondbacks, I believe, Seattle. He made young teams better and veteran teams not so good, mediocre, according to NorCal Sports Talk Live there. Yeah. So Philip says Chapman should absolutely be traded. Why give that much money for a guy who bats 200 with runners in scoring position? There you go. It's a huge flaw, and I don't think it's ever going to change. It's going to probably get worse as he gets older because he's never taken a different approach at the plate with runners in scoring position. Hey, look, guys, if the all-time home run king Barry Bonds choked up, why can't guys like Matt Chapman choke up to get more bat control with 2 strikes and just try to put the ball in play instead of, swinging from the hips and just trying to crush the ball, and instead of just, when you choke up, I don't have a baseball bat in here, but I'll show you with this cup. If I'm down here with it versus up here, like I got to swing, but I'm up here, I got so much more control. You need bat control to make contact. You're not going to check swing as much. If you got it's harder to check swing up high, choking up. You just get more control of the bat. It's a torpedo cup. Yeah, is that a torpedo? It's a torpedo cup. Yeah, look at that. It's skinny at the bottom and more meat at the top. Yeah. I got another one here where I had my smoothie. How about that one? It's another torpedo. Look at that's like one of those old big wiffle ball bats at the top right here. Look at that. Look at the bead on that one right there. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, Chapman just doesn't change his swing approach. Insane Sports Take says, hire Mark DeRosa. Please don't hire Ron Wotus, Rochi, or some other old guy. Need someone who can be here for the next 10 years. Yeah, that's what I've been talking about. Mark DeRosa would be my leading candidate. I like DeRosa. I like Skip Shoemaker. And I like Nick Hundley. I like the coach of the Tennessee Volunteers. Cliff brought up David Ross. He sounds like an interesting candidate. But you got to go younger. You cannot go Wotus or Bochy, in my opinion. It's Who would I want as the next manager? Also, no hard feelings, Dan, last night. Sometimes I just get really into it. Hey, no worries. Insane Sports Takes. I would say I'm on the record for 2 main guys. I really like DeRosa and I like Yadier Molina. And I'm not sure which order I would put those in. I like both of those guys. I've met Nick Hundley personally at the baseball winter meetings back in 2000, and it was December of 22. Was it 22? It was the year the Astros won the World Series, because I had a picture of. Hold on here. I'll pull it up here. I think it was the December of 22. I go through my photos here. I don't think I have a picture with Nick Hunley, but I do have one. Hey, look at this. Hold on here just a second. Let me pull this. I've got one.
Hey, it's Harold Reynolds here from MLB Network. Watch the Crew Show with Dan, Larry, and Ryan. I'm telling you, it is on fire. You gotta watch it.
That's Harold Reynolds. This is when I was on the Krug Show regularly. Here's one with.
Good afternoon, everybody. How are you today? Christopher Russo here to tell you when I'm in town and I want to listen, I listen to him, Dan, and I listen to Larry Kruger. Krug and Dan, my ear set. You got it right here. You heard it from the Mad Dog.
All right. There we go. We got, and there's my picture with Dusty right there. So, yeah. But I met Nick Hunley that day. And, this is when Nick had just gone to work with Bochy at Texas, and really nice guy. Really, really nice guy. I like Nick. He would be a great candidate. So I would be all for Mark DeRosa, Yadier Molina, or Nick Hunley. I think those three guys, younger guys that will fit right into the job. Cliff, who has better rants, Lou or the Mad Dog? Oh, wow. Well, when Lou gets going, he's got that deeper voice, Lou. So I think that would be, I love Mad Dog's takes. That's a toss-up. Good one, Lou. I mean, Cliff, good one there. Aaron, winner chicken dinner. Here's the best humorous take of the day in the chat. Manager Alyssa Nakin, bench coach Kai Correa, and for our third base coach, Ruben Rivera. That's the worst base running I've ever seen. Yes, love it, Aaron. Could always count on Aaron for some humor. Frank the Tank. Yeah, I've seen Frank the Tank in New York. He's hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. And we bring in Dallas as we get ready to actually close out the show. Dallas had some work to do, I think. We do have day job.
Yeah, the old day job.
The old day job. In fact, my appointment got rescheduled, so I had a noon appointment. It's now, or I should say, 11 o'clock appointment. It's now 12:35, and we're about ready to wrap this up. But you got any takes? Give me who your final three are, and who gets the job. Let's just look, guys. We're out in left field speculating like the rest of you guys. Nobody knows, and I don't even think Buster knows at this point. He may have some ideas who he wants, but until you go through that interview process, I think that's where you really learn about somebody's philosophies and their personality. And I think it would be foolish for Buster to actually have a guy without really going through the interview process. And I don't think Buster's a foolish guy. I think he's a very methodical minded person, and he's going to want to get to know who the next manager is before he makes a decision. I think he's got an idea of 3 to 5 guys he's looking at, But I don't think he says, I'm hiring this guy and I'm just going to go through the interview process no matter what. It's just a foregone conclusion. I'm just doing it as a formality. So you want to go 3 or 5? I'll let you choose. 3 or 5
3.
guys? 3. Okay. Give me your 3.
The 3 are Mark DeRosa, Nick Hundley, and I'm not going to say Bochy. I'm not going to say Hallberg. I'm going to say I'm going to say
time's out.
I don't know.
It's a tough one. Vocal song. Mark Graves says, won't put up with bad baseball. Interesting. Yeah, not bad. Not bad. While you're thinking, I'll go through the chat here. Come up. There have been what about Benji Molina as manager? How long would it take?
Skip Schumacher. That's my 3rd.
Okay.
I forgot about him. Yeah.
There we go. You know what? He was my 3rd guy too, and you nailed all 3 of my same guys. I think DeRosa, Schumacher, and Hundley. And I am going to say, based on Buster's 1 track record of hiring Menaeason, the job goes to Hundley, Nick Hundley.
Yep. Could very well be. A lot of people say these names like Will Clark. It's not going to be Will Clark.
No, not going to be Will Clark or Barry
Hunter
Bonds.
Pence. It's not going to be Hunter Pence.
No.
Barry Bonds. It's not going to be Barry Bonds.
No.
I think he'd be great at the job, but it's a long season. It's a job that you have to do every single day and travel and all that stuff. And he's just not in that place, I don't think. So I don't think it's him.
What about the Tennessee Volunteers coach right there, Vitello?
Interesting.
He's the 4th. He's my 4th guy. That if he gets an interview, I would not be at all surprised if he's taking it. Now, Vitello.
JT Snow. It won't be JT Snow.
No, it won't be JT Snow. I would say this: if Vitello is going to interview for the job, you're not going to hear about it. Why? Because that means it's going to hurt his college program if he doesn't get the job, because what's the rumor going to be when he's recruiting? Oh, you don't want to go there. He's already thinking he's going to be a major league manager. That's how the other coaches recruit against you.
It kind of ups your clout, though. If you're in that conversation, then it's like, oh, this guy's really good. Major league teams are considering him.
Yeah, but
it
young
could up
kids
your profile too.
And parents, you tell a parent, oh, you sign with Tennessee. He may not be there when baseball season starts because he's entertaining major league jobs. So that's my take on it. I think if he interviews first, he might do it secretly. You know how those college coaches in football are Jim Harbaugh. Oh, you taking the job? No, they don't want that out. They don't want all that out. They try and keep it quiet. And I think it's a lot easier to keep it quiet as a college baseball manager as it is a college football coach or basketball coach. Those things, are so much more. So we'll see. But if he vocally is in on it, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if he got the job. So we're down to 3 or 4 guys in our opinions. We think Hundley, Shoemaker, DeRosa, and watch it be an internal candidate. And I'll tell you what, if they go internal,
I mean, there's 100 other people we haven't named either.
Yeah.
People on coaching staffs, people on bench coaches on good teams.
Right. We're naming we're picking low-hanging fruit right here. There could be someone at the top of that tree that we just haven't even thought of to reach for. Craig Alvarez was a good take by Cliff Martinez, a guy like that could be a really good manager for the Giants, and that's somebody that we're not talking about. So,
what about Edwin Villegas, the coach of the San Jose Giants? They had a heck of a year. He's worked with all these players coming up. He was a California League Manager of the Year last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Possibility.
How about Aaron Boone if the Yankees have an early exit and he gets fired?
Yeah. And that could be the case with a lot of these teams that, they're people that don't make it far in the playoffs. If they get eliminated in that first round, you might see some turnover too. So,
Mark Gray
those are the teams that barely made it in,
Read my chat. I didn't say Snow as manager. I'm not sure. I didn't even see Mark's comment.
Someone else said it. It wasn't. So, but yeah.
He's talking. Hundley will have JT Snow as a coach, went to the same college. Oh, University of Arizona. Yeah. Lou would be happy with that. Get 2 Wildcats in here. Yeah. We need to create a bet. Let me see if I can get FanDuel on the phone and get them to give us some odds and put it out there. All right. Well, Dallas, great show today. Bob Melvin, again, has been let go as the San Francisco Giants manager. Now all the speculation begins on who the next manager will be for the 2026 season. We'll be talking more about it as the days go by. Until then, we will catch you guys. Not sure when the next live show will be. Maybe tomorrow night with the playoffs starting. Maybe we'll do one after that Dodgers-Cincinnati Reds game. We'll probably do a baseball wrap-up tomorrow night. Probably, a little shorter show. Today was a special show with Bob Melvin being fired. We wish Bob Melvin all the best going forward in his career and his life. He's had a great career. There's no doubt you cannot knock Bob Melvin's managerial career. I put up when you were out his numbers. Actually, a 51.4 winning percentage. Actually, if you look at it, didn't have the big World Series appearance. Does have a World Series ring with the Arizona Diamondbacks as the bench coach for Bob Brenly, 2001 Arizona Diamondbacks, but has a better win-loss percentage than Bruce Bochy. So you can't knock this guy and then say Bruce Bochy was, the greatest. He won the 3 World Series, yes, but winning, I'm not one of those guys that says, oh, if you didn't win it all, you don't belong at the top. That's like saying guys like Charles Barkley. Yeah.
Win-losses with pitchers is a stat that is highly, it relies on external factors. And same with managers, you only have the players you're given, the team that you're given, and you have to do the best with that. And that's why so many managers are 500. You look at a lot of big long-term managers that have been managing for decades, and a lot of them are right around 500.
Exactly. I think Bochy, is he under 500 or he's right there?
I think he's over 500 now, but not by much.
You know what? Let's just check Bruce Bochy's record before we get out of here. While I'm looking it up, I'll play the band.
Oh my.
What do we got?
Over 28 seasons, 498. He's 11 games, 14 games under 500.
Yeah, he is
2252 and 2266.
Yeah, I just saw it myself. There it is. I mean, that's let me see if I can put that up there on the screen.
He's going to have to go 14 over next year to even that out.
Yeah, there it is. 28 years, 22 and 52 and 22-56. So Melvin
Look at
has
the Giants.
Giants 1,052 and 1,054. Wow. Yeah. Look, great manager, but not easy. Not easy. So let's give Melvin some love there. You know. All right, guys. I think we'll be back tomorrow night, Tuesday night, probably about 9 o'clock for playoff wrap-up. You guys have yourself a fantastic rest of your Monday, and we'll see you tomorrow night.